Good morning, Year 1. Welcome back to week 2 of Jack and the Beanstalk. Today is Tuesday, which means you'll be writing the build-up to our story. But before we can write the build-up, we are going to learn how to use a skill. And the skill we're going to focus on today is using the suffix est. So we add a suffix onto the end of a word. So today you'll be able to describe an object using the suffix est. You'll be able to write a sentence using the suffix est, and you'll write your build-up today using the suffix est. So first, what is a suffix? A suffix is a group of letters which is added to the end of a word to form a different word. The suffix est adds the meaning most to words. So calm becomes the calmest, which means the most calm. So by adding the suffix est, which is est, you are making that word into the most. So if I had, for example, 2 snails, I could describe one snail as being the slowest. So by adding the suffix est, the fast, we have a fast cheetah, but here I have the fastest cheetah. And here I have a lion, but this is not just any lion, it is the loudest lion. So we often use a suffix est when we are comparing 2 or more things to show which one is, for example, the slowest, the fastest, the loudest. And notice our suffix is added to the end of the word, as we can see highlighted in red. Now, when making a word into the most, we add the suffix est, est to the end. So I need your help here to change these words. So smart becomes smartest. Well done. Now joining in with me, and I want you to hear you guys shouting it out. So kind becomes, well done, kindest, maybe the kindest boy in the class. Brave becomes bravest. Notice how brave already had an E on the end, so we just added the rest of the suffix. So we added the S and the T. So the bravest child in the world, maybe. Loud becomes loudest. Well done. Sweet becomes sweetest. Maybe the sweetest strawberry you've ever tasted. Fast becomes fastest. Added my suffix onto the end, est, the fastest cheetah in the world. Long becomes longest. Maybe it's the longest carrot that's ever been grown, or the longest beanstalk you've ever seen. And the last one, old becomes oldest. Maybe you're the oldest sibling in your family. Or we could have the opposite of that, the youngest sibling in your family. So now that we have practiced adding on the suffix est, so est, to our words, we are now going to have a go at putting those into sentences. So here we have some examples that could be from our story, Jack and the Beanstalk. So first it's I, so I am going to have a go. So we start our sentence with there. There ist. So first, let's look at what we need to describe here. I've got a picture of a cow, so I'm going to be writing about a cow. Cow does not need capital letters, so cow. Now I need a word that's going to describe my cow, an adjective that's going to describe my cow, but it needs to have our suffix est, est on the end. In our story, we have the plumpest cow, which means really big and round, the plumpest cow. Now, I need some of your help. You ready to help me? Fantastic. We have there, est. Oh, what's this? Can you shout out 3, 2, 1? This is a horse. Oh, how do I spell horse? Now, what kind of or is it? Or shut the doors. Fantastic. What kind of horse could it be? We need adjectives, but it needs to have a suffix est. What kind of horse? If you're stuck, let's go back onto some of our example words. What kind of horse could it be? Maybe the kindest horse? Yep. What else could it be? The fastest horse? Maybe the oldest horse. What would you do like? The kindest horse. We have a really kind horse. Fantastic. So the kindest horse, the kindest horse. Now it's your go. So I want you to go and grab a whiteboard and a pen or a paper and a pencil, anything that you can have to write down these sentences. So now it is your go. We just done 2 examples together, and now I want you to have a go. First, I want you to have a go at this example. There, est. What do we see here? I'll help you with this one. What can we see? Quite small. Apples. So what kind of word are you going to use to describe your apple? I would like you to pause the video and I want you to write a sentence to describe the apple using our suffix est, est, and then come back when you're ready for the next example. Okay, what did you write to describe your apple? Fantastic. You could have the sweetest apple, maybe the smallest apple, maybe the largest apple. Fantastic. Let's see if you're ready for 3 more. Here we have some oranges, we have some potatoes, and here we have some cutlery, so some knives and forks and spoons. So I want you to have a go at these 3 sentences using a suffix est to describe these different objects. You have to make sure you are writing these down. So I want you to pause the video and come back when you have done these 3 sentences and you have written them down. Off you go. Did you write down your 3 sentences? Fantastic. So first you had your oranges. What word did you use to describe your oranges? Excellent. We could have the sweetest oranges. I like that one. Now let's look at our potatoes. What word did you use to describe your potatoes? Will they be the fastest potatoes? No, they wouldn't. They can't move. So what word did you have instead? Or you had the largest potatoes, or maybe the smallest potatoes. Fantastic. And then last, you had some cutlery, so some knives, spoons and forks. So you could have chosen to write the cutlery or in general, or you could have just picked one of those. So what word did you have to use to describe your cutlery? The shiniest cutlery. Fantastic. Maybe it's the smallest cutlery or the largest cutlery made for a giant. Okay, so now that we have done really well at using our suffix est to describe when something is the most of something, we are going to start innovating our story. So this is the really important part where we start writing down all our vocabulary ready for our writing, just at the end of this video. So first, we are going to change what our main character sells. So in our original story of Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack and his mum decided to sell their plumpest cow. So we are going to change this. It's no longer the plumpest cow. You can sell anything that you want, but you have to keep in mind that this is what your main character and his mum have to already own in their house or maybe in their garden. So maybe they're growing this, maybe like a vegetable or fruit, maybe it's another animal, it's up to you. But you have to use the suffix est. So let's look at some examples I wrote. I said it was the juiciest oranges, the largest carrots, maybe a super large carrot they've been growing for years. Maybe the fluffiest sheep, or the sweetest strawberries. So it's completely up to you what you write, but you have to write a word with the suffix est before your item. So here I am going to show you how I wrote down my ideas. So now the first thing on my vocabulary list today is what am I going to sell? I'm making sure I have my suffix est, so est, describing what I am going to sell. So yesterday I wrote I have some oranges because I have an orange tree. I think I like the idea of the juiciest oranges. Maybe I also have some animals, so maybe I have, I'm trying to over here, the fluffiest, maybe I have the fluffiest white sheep. And then I'm going to write one more idea just in case I change my mind. Maybe I have the largest, maybe I've got some vegetables growing in my garden. Maybe I have the largest, maybe I have a watermelon. Maybe he has watermelons growing in his garden. So underline my suffix est so I remember to use them. Now it's your turn to write down your ideas. I would like you to pause the video and I want you to write down your ideas and come back to the video when you are ready to innovate the next thing. Fantastic. Let's move on to the next thing that we are going to change. So in our story, our main character, so my main character is now Tom, is still going to receive some beans after they have sold their item. But rather than having big blue beans, we are going to change the adjectives that we use to describe our beans. So here are some examples I wrote down. We could have colourful, magic, round, shiny, tiny. It's up to you, whichever word. And you want to make sure you write down maybe 2, 3 or 4 ideas because you can be using this later in your story. When those beans are chucked out the window, you can then use another adjective to describe that bean. So make sure you have lots of different ideas. I am now going to show you how I wrote down my ideas. So now I've got to think of some adjectives to describe my beans. So I'm going to write 3 that I could pick from. So I'm going to challenge myself today and write at least 2 adjectives for my beans. So I like colourful. I like that they're magic. And maybe they're going to be very tiny. Very tiny. Tiny. So writing my ideas around the word beans. And I have written the word beans because I'm also going to need that later. So you're going to write the word beans and then around it write at least 3 different adjectives, and notice how they're all spaced apart. Now it's your turn to write down your adjectives for your beans on your vocabulary list. So you are going to pause the video and you are going to write down your adjectives to describe your beans, and don't forget to write the word beans so it can help with your spelling of it later. Off you go. Fantastic. And we are also going to change the sentence starter. We had one morning in our story of Jack and the Beanstalk, but we are going to change that to something that has even more detail. So here are some examples I wrote. One rainy day, on a Sunday afternoon, on a sunny morning, early one cold morning. So you want to think of different sentence starters, and this is going to be about the time of the day. So was it in the morning? Was it in the afternoon? Maybe you want to describe the weather. It's up to you. But now I'm going to show you how I wrote my ideas down on my vocabulary list. So now I need some sentence starters. So I need to think of different ways I could describe the day in which Tom sells something. So we had in our story one morning, but I want something a bit more interesting than that. So I would like to say maybe it was early one cold morning. Maybe it's not in the morning. Maybe I could do late one Saturday evening. Maybe they decide in the evening, maybe go to the night market. And maybe I could maybe describe the weather as well. So maybe on a rainy day. So I've written at least 3 ideas I could pick from later. They're all spread apart nice and clearly. And I have my capital letters because we know sentence starters at the start, meaning they all need a capital letter. Now it's your turn to write down your ideas. I want you to write at least 3 different ideas so that you can decide later which one is best for your writing. So pause the video here and come back when you have written down your different sentence starters. Don't forget to add that comma after your sentence starter. So now that we have changed everything that we're going to change today, so we have changed our sentence starter, our adjective for beans, and what we're going to sell, we are ready to do our writing. And today we are writing our build-up, and in your build-up is when your main character is going to hopefully start to solve their problem. So we know the problem in our story is the main character. So in our original story, Jack and his mum were really poor and they need money for food. So their build up is where they're going to start fixing that problem and hopefully get some money. So here we have one morning they decided to sell their plumpest cow so they could have money for food. Unfortunately, all he got for the cow were some big blue beans. So I am now going to write my build up. I know, looking at my story map to help me, we're not going to have one morning, so I'm going to cross that out. We're not going to have the plumpest cow. I've got something else I'm going to sell. And we do not have big blue beans. We have other adjectives. But look, I can still use my story map for all these keywords like unfortunately, decided, could, beans. It's really going to help me with my spelling. And today we're writing 2 sentences. I'm now going to write my build up using my story map, my vocabulary list, and then after I have written it, I'm going to use this writing checklist to help me to edit my work. So off I go. So now we are writing our build up. To save paper, I am just going to write it on the same sheet as yesterday. So I am just going to go underneath my beginning and misalign and start my build up. So my story can be on the same page and it will save some paper. So I've also got my vocabulary list that we have made earlier in the lesson that is going to be very important in my writing. So the first thing that we are going to have is that we need, looking at number 3, a sentence starter. So we need to set the scene about when and where this took place. So I like the idea of early one cold morning. So I'm going to take that off my list. I'm going to misalign and start here. Capital E is the start of a sentence. Early, look how tall my capital letter is. Early, one, all tricky red word, one cold morning. Or shut the door. Early one cold morning. Come after my sentence faster. Early one cold morning. I need to think about what did they do? They decided they decided. I'm also using my story map here to help me with my spellings. Decided. So you know it's past tense, we're going to have ed. They decided to what are they going to sell? So now I'm going to look for number 1. All the different things they could sell. I had oranges, maybe watermelon or a sheep. I like the idea of oranges because I wrote that they had nothing except an orange tree. So I'm going to say they sold the juiciest oranges, but I want more detail. So they decided to sell maybe a basketful, a large basket of their juiciest, got my suffix here, est, juiciest oranges. So now I have said what they're going to sell, but why are they selling this? Why are they selling this? They are poor, so what do they need? Oh, they need money so they can buy food. So, got my conjunction. So, they could have, remember have has a silent e at the end, money for, or shut the door, food. Ooh, what 2 letters make that ooh sound? Well done. To food, full stop. And now my main character, Tom, has gone to the market and something very sad happens. Unfortunately, starting with a capital letter, unfortunately, this is quite a tricky word. So I am looking and copying from my story map in front of me. unfortunately, come on. All he received, ed, for the, what did I say again? I'm going to look back. It's really important. Sometimes you want to look back. Oh, I was selling oranges. All he received for the oranges were, and now I get to look at my adjective number 2 for my beans. So what kind of beans do I want to have? I'm going to challenge myself and pick 2. I want them to be a few. I like the word tiny, magic. Tiny and magic are the ones I'm going to pick. Were a few tiny magic beans. If I don't know how to spell beans, I can always look back to my vocab to help me. So here I have it to help me. Cup of tea, full stop. Now, really important part, we read back our work just in case we've missed out any words or something doesn't make sense, maybe you have a spelling mistake. This is a really important part where you edit your work. Just like we edit our work at the start of the lesson, we edit our own work as well. So I'm going to read back mine. Early one cold morning, they decided to sell a large basket of their juiciest oranges so they could have money for food. Unfortunately, all he received for the oranges were a few tiny magic beans. Fantastic. Capital letters at the start of both my sentences. I have talked about the item that I was going to sell and why they were going to sell it, for money for food. And then I wrote the really sad news that all he received for my oranges were a few tiny magic beans. Fantastic. So now it's your go to write your build-up. Remember, you are changing the sentence starter, the item that you're selling, and your adjectives for your beans. So use a story map, use your vocabulary list, and then after you have written, make sure you're really using your writing checklist to edit your sentence and read it out loud. So I'd like you now to pause the video and write your build up. Off you go and good luck. Can't wait to see it on Seesaw.